Good morning, Anna. Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Betty. Good morning, Noel.
Good morning, Swamiji.
Good morning, Swamiji.
Good morning. Okay, let us start. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Swamiji.
Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mriturma Amritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is memory, an asset or a liability. You know, we have money, and sometimes money is considered to be asset. Other than money, also we have some possessions like house, or maybe furniture, or maybe a car. Such these things are also considered to be asset. And in that way, we possess many things which actually help us, brings us confidence, and we like to possess them. That is the most important thing. And as much assets that we have, we like to acquire, and we are crave for them. And also there are liabilities. Liabilities means which are really bothersome. That means we want to get rid of. Loan is a liability. We have to give every month some amount for mortgage. That is also a liability. That we always have to think how to pay the liability. The house may be taken away if I do not pay my mortgage regularly. The car may be taken away if we do not pay the mortgage or loan regularly. So in that way, there are certain things which are really liability, and we have to fulfill that liability, and otherwise we shall lose them. Rather, as such, liability-wise, we want to lose them, but the material which are in the list of liability, we do not want to lose them. That is the point. So these two concepts are there. That means something we like to have and something we do not like to have. We want to get rid of also. So in case material things, this is understandable. We are in the life, we have these materials, and in that way we can figure out that yes, we can get rid of this thing, it will not hurt me, and if I get that one, it will help me. So in that way we can really apply our discrimination and live happily. Now, what is the situation if the mind? In the mind, actually, there are certain things which are really can be considered asset, that means helpful. Good thoughts are helpful, and if you have certain qualifications, suppose I have studied through the college, gone to some specialized institution, maybe I have become a doctor, so my education will be an asset for me. That, and also if I have certificate or a license for practice, then it will be an asset for me. because by possessing those things, I gain and feel happy and make my life very uh, uh, enjoyable, and not only enjoyable, worth living. So in that way, certain things are there in our mind or in our intellect, which are really very important for us. And also there are certain things which may be considered to be bothersome. And especially in the life, there are certain things which bothers us very much. Those who have gone through different traumas means probably some person has got lost his parents at a very young age. And naturally, that is a traumatic experience. And so one has to, if somebody does not really get rid of that trauma, it may be, the life may be very miserable. And that is, in that way, throughout the life, there are experiences which we really cannot get rid of. That means it will come. That means if I see an accident. I remember vividly once I was working in a place which is in the southern part of, western part of India and southern part of the state of Gujarat, which is known as Surat. Surat is a very well-known place because there is a very big diamond industry, diamond polishing industry. And also side by side, there is another industries that is, which is known as what is textile industry. So these two industries are very important for the economy of that place, Surat. And Surat also is a very historical place. Historical place, that is a very ancient city. And there used to be kutis. Kutis means the many countries, especially when the Western countries started colonizing different parts of the world, there used to be some kutis. That means I don't. Some countries had their offices there for transaction of businesses. So in that way, that place is very important and also very prosperous place. Uh, Agriculturally, very prosperous. So once there is a river which passes to that district, Surat district, and also Surat town, and it meets the ocean in the Arabian Sea on the western part. Unfortunately, time to time when there is a heavy rain, the river is really full of water, and the whole city and on the two sides of the river, it is called Tapti River, and popularly in the place is known as Tapi River. That means local people call it Tapi, and in actual name is Tapti. And there are mentions of this ancient river in many our what is called Puranas and such other places. That means it shows it is a very ancient river. But unfortunately, almost every 10 year or something, there is a, you can approximate cycle is there. We can say when the heavy rain is there, actually it floods the immense amount of property. And in fact, in the city of Surat, the flood is so common. People have experienced so much that some of the houses have plinth. That means if the road is there, where you see the houses, the house actually starts to the steps you have to enter into the house. In that way, they have, and they build their houses on a height, so to avoid the water. So once we had the experience when I was in the western part of India as a monk, or I had just at that time I had just joined. So there was a flood in the year of 1968, and it was a havoc. Havoc means the flood came and inundated a huge quantity, was huge land on the two sides of the river, and the city was completely underwater. So we do a relief work, and relief work has two aspects. One is the immediate relief work, that means distribution of life-giving materials like food, clothing, and such other things. And when after some months things settle down, then we have to think of the houses also, because many houses, especially houses of poor people, they get destroyed. So we decided after this immediate reliever to have some houses. We'll have about 500 houses for low people, what is called low income group, especially those who did not have houses and what small living places they had. They lost all those things. So we decided to have, and also government provided some land. So construction means you have to bring building materials. Building materials means bricks. And at that time, bricks were not much available. So our architect said that, well, let us have precast buildings. So precast means the walls and all those things are built in small in pieces, in what is called in small pieces, and they are really assembled. In that way, the houses were constructed. So naturally, we had to have some arrangement for making those things and bringing them to the sites of the construction of the village. So in that way, you're doing. So once we are really passing to the main street from the site where the construction was, materials were being cast and then they are being built. So while coming, actually one day we saw an accident. Accident means because there was a lot of work, and in that area, the laborers, especially the construction laborers, used to be carried, they used to transport, or for the sake of convenience, they used to travel in trucks. Trucks means not large trucks, just like here, but definitely there were nice trucks, and in that way they could bring materials as well as people, that means the workers. So one day, actually, almost around the time of lunch, we are returning for lunch from our site, and we saw an accident. It's just happened in front of us. That means that probably it was a truck. The truck was just in front of our car. Car means in those places we used to jeep, as it is, as you know, they are very helpful for any rugged terrain. So immediately, that means there are probably 5 or 6 people, and they just were not only wounded, some of them got killed in front of us. That means we saw them just because of the what is called this the truck. Actually, 2 trucks collided, and on the one truck those laborers were there, and they just fell down, got under the wheel, and in that way, actually, it was a very what is called macabre situation. That means it was intolerable. We have never seen this type of thing. So the point is that those experiences, we do not know why it will happen. Then memory, since I'm telling you that I still have that memory, bad memory of that accident. So for some time, naturally, we are stunned, and then we have to do work. So what can be done? Of course, the help came, that means ambulance came and things were taken care of. But still, it is very difficult for those who are spectators. We are not involved, luckily, by God's grace, but we had to witness that. So this type of experience actually is traumatic, and they remain impressed in our mind for a long time, for almost forever. That means whenever I remember of those days, actually, suddenly this scene pops up in the mind. So this type of situation, actually, we don't want, but still they will come. And there are, in everybody's life, there are certain experiences, especially those who go for war. In war situation, you cannot imagine what happens and what will happen. And when they return, actually, those burden of memories, they come back, and they have to carry those memories forever. So that is what is called liability. So we want to get rid of them. That means for healthy living, we don't want them. There's no necessity of remembering them, but actually they're so deeply embedded in our mind that we cannot, that bothers us. Not only bothers us, sometimes it is so deep that we have to take help from specialists also. So that is a point, is that there are certain things in the mind which are also a liability, which are considered to be liability. So assets are good, liability is bad. That is the what is called samam bonam that we need to deal with. Now, uh, we know definitely there are medical things besides that, how actually we can handle them. That is the point. How actually we can acquire assets, mental assets, and how we can get rid of the mental liabilities. So now the point is this, that we cannot help because our mind has got memory. That means mind consists of, as you know, those who are listening to the Vedanta for some time, they know that mind has got four aspects. Same mind, according to configuration, has four aspects. One is the cogitation. That means when we are trying to figure out what it is not, that is a cogitative. Then we can, when we figure out that it is a certain such thing, so then actually it becomes what is called, that cogitative state is called manas, and when it is fixed, it is called buddhi. That means we are certain that this is such and such thing. So this is a pencil, I know, from a distance I could not figure out whether it is pencil or pen. Then when you come near, actually I figure out that it is a pen. So in that way, it becomes known to us. And when it comes to us, then I know that I am knowing this, and it enters into my memory. Yes, in such and such place, actually, I saw that, and it is a pen, probably this manufacturer or this color of the ink and all those details. If I handle it, then it remains in my memory. So that is called chitto. That means the memory aspect is called chitto, and it is absorbed. That means when I am knowing it, when without uh, attaching this ego, as it is called, I, actually it will not enter into my mind, because by the side of the pen there might have been a what is called clip also. On the table there are clips or pins and all those things. I did not pay attention to them, so naturally it will not enter into my mind. So in that way, this function is, Chitto actually is the storehouse of what is called our memory. It is a memory aspect of the mind. These are not different chambers, as and we can, as when I was saying, but these are actually the configuration of the same material uh, according to Vedanta. But there's a difference in the present day understanding of the mind from the scientific point of view and from the Vedantic point of view. The difference is this, that scientific point of view actually does not take into consideration our individual. That means as an individual, our mind, our personal mind. So that is within ourselves, it is a private thing. But scientific thing is actually a little bit external. That means others are trying to understand our mind. In that way, it is developing. That is helpful, definitely. Both has got its own place. But especially those who are really spiritual. Spiritual means, or an ordinary person, that means thoughtful person, naturally they have to deal with their own mind. So in that way, Vedanta is very rich in handling the mind from one's own side. So in that way, you know that these are the four functions are there, and this chitta is the place where all the memories are there. So they are collected, and when they are collected, so we have lived such a long life. I have lived so many years. Everybody is living their years. So naturally, when we started to watch things or perceive things or see things, hear things, taste things. So naturally, we started gathering all those informations in our mind. Very luckily that all of them we do not remember. Most of them we do not remember. That means you cannot really say that if I am 60 years old, then I have remembered every actions or everything that I have seen and they are collected in the memory. It does not happen. It is a blessing for us. Otherwise, it will be so bothersome for us that we shall not be able to handle them. So luckily, because we do not pay attention to many things, but some of the things which we pay attention, definitely remain collected in our mind. And these some of the collections are intentional, and some of the collections are really forced. Forced in a sense that I told you that incident that happened, I did not have any hand in that experience. So I had to experience that. And naturally, I cannot get rid of that memory. So in the same way, there are good experiences also. Probably I had been to a very beautiful place, Hawaii or such other places, or some scenic place, and I have a vivid memory of those places. And that serenity I enjoyed, and that is also collected, just like photographic memory remains inside mind. In the same way, I am telling about only about the sight, but same way actually I might have tasted something very tasty or very delicious, and that also remains in the mind. Probably I visited one place where certain item of sweets, they are really very delicious, and people go there to eat that. In Benares, there is a type of food, rabri, as you know. Many people might have tasted that. It's a very thin layer of cream over the milk, and it is nicely prepared. That means it has got cardamom, it has got sugar, and they are very delicious there. And Benares is known for that. So if you have tasted that, you'll remember that, oh yes, that rabri is really so tasteful. It remains in the memory. So in any place, if you taste rabri, probably that memory will come. Or if you see rabri, memory will come, and you'll be able to compare how good is that and how not so good it is that. So in that way, all the senses collecting the memories and storing them inside our chitta. That means in the configuration which is known as chitta, mind, in the mind. In Western psychology, mind is considered to be just like brain. That means probably, definitely, there is function of the brain when we are remembering something, when we are seeing what is called in a cogitative state, monostate. That means when you're seeing something but we cannot figure out what it is, or at the same time, what is called our intelligence is also there, trying to figure out what it is. So definitely, brain must be functioning in different ways, but and that is a subject matter of them. But from the personal point of individual point of view, we can take it what is really Vedanta says, that means yes, these are there, and we have to handle with these four aspects of the function of the mind. We have to handle our mind. So this is the bottom line. The point is that Vedantic way is especially helpful for individual handling. Of course, it will corroborate with the Western ideas, but what is easier to understand from the Vedantic point of view. So naturally, we can really, we have to have something by which we can get rid of the bad memories or bad experiences. And if we can enrich our mind with the good experiences, then it will be very helpful for us. And we know that there are ways that has been found, a very commonsensical aspects are also there by which we can really those commonsensical actions or habits, you can say, or you can say that means method which you can employ to get rid of these bad memories and acquire good memories. So let us see what may be there. This is, of course, I collected from different sources, and you will find that probably some of you utilize these things. You might be knowing already. First thing is for getting rid of bad memories, that there is a one saying in Sanskrit which is known as Gatasya Shochana Nasti. Gatasya Shochana Nasti. That means Gatasya means the past, Shochana means thinking, or just rumination. Nasti means need not be done, because we cannot really change the past. That is axiomatic. That means nobody can change the past. We cannot go back in the time and fix the thing. So the point is that that accident example I gave, there's no way that we could have fixed that situation from the point of view after it has happened. So naturally, sochana means thinking of that. Thinking of that means repeated thinking actually embedded as thing. So that is also another aspect of the mind. So just get rid of thinking of the bad thoughts. And that is the simplest way. When the bad thoughts arise, just tell your mind, don't pay attention to that. It may happen to simple bad thoughts, but sometimes the traumatic thoughts will not, one cannot get rid of those type of trauma, which are really traumatic, that means deep-seated. So naturally, we have to apply some other methods to get rid of them. One method I saw in one place, somebody has suggested, and it was successful for him or her, that what that person did, that means he wrote down, that person wrote down the description of that traumatic incident. So it was the person's father's death. That means the dead body, the person, in India, nowadays I have also heard many known and near and dear ones, they have this type of traumatic experiences. Somebody is dying, somebody is suffering. So in that way, because of this COVID, it is a very dire situation in India. Of course, it is now recovering, that I see. But this has happened in this country also. So how to get rid of them? You will see that sometimes in the TV, they will say that what is called, this shot or these pictures actually contains something what is really very traumatic. That means it may affect your mind. So they will give a notification. So I've heard those things, that is the thing. But this person is saying that I had to go through, my father died, and then actually his dead body was taken to the funeral pyre in India. That is the way they, what is called, burn the body, that cremation. So the body was put on the fire, in the fire, and then it was lit into the fire, and ultimately it became ashes. So this was such a traumatic experience that I could not really get rid of that. So what that person did, so he did, the person did in this way. That means he thought that, well, this bothering me, let me write down the description. That means what I saw from the first experience. That means when I saw the dead body, I wrote down in it as much as possible in a thorough way. That means all the description, how my father was lying, on in what way, what dress was his, and who were present there. All those vivid description I wrote down. And then actually the continued till the end came. That means when it was turned into ashes. In that way, it was a sort of essay that I wrote down. Then actually what the person did is, that means he erased all those writing that he has done. That means it was written in pencil and then erased all those things that he or she had done. And then she threw away. And that actually relieved the person quite effectively. Then to cover the gap, that means naturally there was a father's reminiscences you cannot really get rid of. So then he thought of the good incidents in the father's life, good moments that was in his memory. In that way, continuously, he started thinking of that or associated his mind with that. In that way, ultimately, it so happened that his bad memories of his father, traumatic memories of his father, actually went away. And whenever he thought of his father, actually the father's good memories used to come. So this is a very interesting way of getting rid of the bad thoughts and filling up that gap with good thoughts. So I think it is worth trying. Jane, there is another way. That means if the bad thoughts bother you, just what is called shochana nasti, as I told you. That is a very simple saying that is common in our Indian vocabulary. Gatasya shochana nasti. That means there is just forget them. That means go forward. Just do not pay attention to that. So simple bad memories will go away in that way. That means instead of repeating, what happens in memory, incidents will get, experiences will get embedded in the memory if you think them repeatedly. So that is the way. That means every time you're thinking, actually you are hitting the peg, striking the peg deeper. So in that way, actually, it remains in the mind. So just don't think of that. So actually, that will be helpful, that it will not go deeper. So that is a commonsensical approach. So the point is that just when at the beginning of the thought, just move on. That means you don't want to think this, and in that way, just engage yourself in the some what is called immediate task that is in your hand. So in that way, if you have a list of things that you need to do, so immediately actually you can turn your mind to those things, and in that way you can get rid of that thought. And ultimately, if you do not repeatedly think, it will be automatically become very undisturbing. That is the point. So it will not disturb you. And that is a way. That means keep yourself occupied and busy when these thoughts start to come in your mind. Then other things are there. All the bad memories may come because of the association. Again, coming to that example, that means I had some other Swamis with me when I had that experience of the accident. So naturally, if I try to avoid them, that means the persons who are with me at that moment or the persons whom I had met at that time, if I avoid them, actually that is also be helpful. So it is very natural that I don't have much occasion, or some of them are still not living also. I'm here, and also some of them are staying far away. There is no occasion of meeting them. So in that way, association of the incident, the things or what is called persons associated with the what is called this type of traumatic experiences, if you do not really come across them, try to avoid them, then actually it will be helpful to forget them. That is also another way that has been found out to be effective. So in this way, we see that stop thinking about, stay away from things or people who remind you about the past, this past traumatic experience. That is another way of getting rid of that. And then, of course, spiritually, those who are spiritual, or they do not, those who have what is called not averse to spirituality or spiritual practices, for them actually there is a good way. Good way means that I shall describe in detail a little bit. So it is really, nowadays it is accepted from the mainstream psychology that meditation actually can help in getting rid of the bad thoughts. Bad thoughts means which bothers you. So most of the mental cases means mental disturbances come from bad thoughts. Probably you cannot get rid of them, especially those nowadays, those traumatic experiences that one had during during their war and such a situation. So they suffer for a long time. And it has been found that by doing meditation, actually, they can lessen that intensity of those disturbances, and ultimately they can get rid of them also. Of course, some of them need help from some guide to do that. So it is like this. One person is saying that the miseries of the past and the worries of the future. That means meditation was devised only for the purpose of forgetting the miseries of the past and worries of the future. Miseries of the past, worries means naturally those things will pop up. So how to get rid of them? Meditation actually helps in getting rid of them. Once you practice meditation regularly, you will start staying more in present and less in the past. That is, meditation is sometimes called mindful meditation. Mindful meditation is always mindful. Mindful means that means you are really focusing on something which is actually present. That means you are watching your mind. So it is at the present moment actually you are focusing your mind. So in that way, it is always mindful. So mindfulness actually help in the forgetting of the past and also help in the forgetting of the future worries. That means if there is no deep past impression, naturally it will not bother you in future. And less in gradually the past may fade away almost totally from your life. There are many things that you will be able to forget. Especially I can tell you that means we have become monk. So we have become monk in a sense that means while in taking the monastic life, naturally it is a what is called step that we have taken from our regular life. So the past life means in the not in the past. In this life, the past days. So past days we have to forget because there is no use of thinking them, where I lived or what I did and what I desired, all those things, and who are there, what are they doing, all those things. I don't have any reason to have them because I have decided that I shall not associate with them. That is why I have taken to monastic life, new life. So naturally, we have to forget them. So that is change of the life itself is we have to take a vow that we shall not think of the past life because there is no use of them. It is not that it is bad always, but definitely we want to have something different. So in that way, it is really slowly it will fade away. That means the reminiscences of the past things will automatically fade away. So we can apply in our own cases the past things to fade away by doing spiritual practices, meditation. So by practicing, we can say that this is the way to get rid of the bad thoughts, we can say. Now there are ways by which actually we need to remember also good things. In spirituality, it is very important to remember good things. That is why we have to experience something new. So naturally, we have to get some things which are really helpful to us. May not be spiritually, that means those are spiritual seekers, for them it is very important. But those who are in the mundane life, for them also new experiences is important to impress, especially those who are studying. So naturally for them, it is important to remember many things. That means if you are a doctor, so naturally you have to remember things, name of the medicine, how to actually diagnose a patient, and many branches of the sciences and medical sciences are there, which you need to remember. And naturally, you have to sit for exam to show that you remember them and know them. So for that purpose, actually, it is necessary to cultivate how to remember things. That means good things which we love to have in remembered in your memory. So in that way also there. So there are ways, that means paying closer attention to the details which we are really want to remember. That is really helpful in remembering in future. So suppose I have been to a place and in future probably I have to go there. So naturally I see the place and see the details of the place, and in that way I remember. Suppose San Francisco. So I go to San Francisco. So when I go there, so certain things of San Francisco road, route, and landmarks and all those things, if I really watch carefully, then next time when I drive, it will not be necessary to have the GPS. That is the point, because GPS means that means you have to pay attention to your cell phone, and at the same time you have to drive, and it is not really advisable to drive and see the GPS together. So in that way, if you watch your surroundings thoroughly, that will remain in our memory, and that will be very helpful. So watching, the point is that Attention to details is one way of remembering things. It may be on any subject, actually, it is important. That is why we study. Study means, that means in education, actually, we do practices. Suppose a child has to learn what is called how to learn addition. That means arithmetic. So naturally, 2 plus 2, 4 plus 4. In that way, many times he will have to perform this addition, and then actually he will master it. We have all done like that. So that is a simple way. That means this is taught in our education, but in our day-to-day life also, the same principle can be applied to memorize things. Good things we need to memorize. I can tell you how actually it will help you in spiritual life. In spiritual life, you see in many circumstances, we do not find a place where the environment will be convenient for meditation. So that is that we know. That means everybody has experienced. We also experience here. That means now, of course, the club is not working that actively. But when it will start, actually, there will be noise. That means they have their parties and all those things, music, and also the what is called races, swimming races, and all those things. So naturally, we find it difficult to meditate on study and all those things. So what to do at that time? We have to think mentally. Actually, we can create what is called an atmosphere. Well, you can think that, well, I'm sitting in a very beautiful place, maybe in a Olima somewhere. And then actually the surrounding we can imagine, recreate the in our mind from our memory. And in that way, we can think that I'm sitting there and studying. So that is very helpful, though if it is too much surrounding disturbances, it may not be that successful, but definitely there will be immediate. That means if you think of something which is really beautiful or serene, the mind will automatically remember that. In that way, you can get rid of the what is called surrounding disturbances. So this is the way actually memorization actually helps. So when you get a beautiful scenery, Swami Brahmananda has said that if you get, suppose you have gone for a pilgrimage or a tourist place, beautiful scenery is there, try to do some meditation there. That means just by absorbing the surrounding, it will create, not only the meditation will be good, at the same time will absorb the surrounding situation, and in future it will be useful. You can utilize this situation for your when there is a necessity. That is the point. So this is the way one can really cultivate what is called good memories. Now, other things are there, especially we need to remember something which we study. I have to speak, so naturally I have to remember certain verses, and which I can really, when I give the talk, I can really recount. So how to do that? Repetition. Repetition is the way that we utilize these things. That means probably one sloka that needs to be, I feel that if I really recite, so I repeatedly read that, what is called recite that, and in that way I can remember that. Many people do like that. There's no doubt about that. From childhood we have learned all those things during our study. And also, if the same thing is done with time apart, that means not once. That means suppose one verse I have to recite. So I repeat that probably 10 times. Then actually I do some other things or go ahead with other things. Then again we come back, and then actually again 10 times I repeat that verse. So in that way, actually, if it is done with spacing, it is said that memorization really is very easy. Easy means effective. So this is another way of remembering things which we want to remember, actually. That is the point. Now, there are other things by which actually we can remember things properly, is the testing, as it is called. Testing means that suppose I have read something. It is applied in the schools also. So there are tests. That means a passage is given, and then they will say that, well, you keep aside this passage, and these are the questions related to that passage, and you write down the answers. So that is another way of remembering things. That means you'll have, if the test is given, so naturally you have to recollect what you have read, and in that way actually it will remember in your mind properly. Especially for scriptures, it is very easy. That means we want to remember. Suppose I want to remember what Sri Ramakrishna has said about the duties of a householder. So I read those things, and naturally, when I read, I think, oh, they are really very useful. If I can apply in my mind, if I remember them, then it will be very practical for me. So what to do? So I read probably 5 or 6 or 8 advices that Sri Ramakrishna has given. Then actually I keep set aside, and then actually I try to recollect them, write them down. And in that way, actually, because I'm recollecting, we are actually dwelling again on this, what is called passages that Ramakrishna has said. So that actually that embeds that those instructions in my mind. That is another way of creating good memories. Then, of course, these are the simple ways for small things that are there we can remember. Now, finally, what is there any way by which actually we can really get rid of bad memories and we can collect good memories? That means we can acquire good memories. One way, that means in one stroke, whether we can do that. Yes, it is possible to do that also. That is the way actually spirituality works. In spiritual life, you see the meditation that I already mentioned once, and also there is a repetition of name also. That means we do repetition of name. That means some Godhead or some good passages we actually repeat, and in that way we do. That is a what is called advised way of doing spiritual practice. So how actually that helps? It will help in this way. If you can remember, that means spirituality is important, that you have to have some fixed item, that means which will be useful for you spiritually also, spiritual growth. Suppose somebody wants to have good meditation. So in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, we find that Ishwar Pranidhana, that means it is possible to acquire concentration by thinking of God. Ishwar means God. So now God, in Hinduism, so many gods and goddesses are there. And in Christianity, God is a spirit. There is no figure and nothing else. So how to remember that? So that is maybe a question. But those who think of God with form, they can think that God is like this, and in that way they can remember that. And in Hinduism, it is very common to have one concept of God, somebody's favorite. Probably somebody has seen God in his locality or in his family, probably Ganesha, or maybe Durga, or maybe Lord Shiva. So in that way, from the childhood, the familiarity is there, so remembers. And in that way, repetition of the thought actually will help. How it will help? That because Godhead, that means spirituality, means that means it has some association of spirituality. And what is spirituality? It means that a concentration. That means if you have good concentration, actually you're progressing in spiritual life. And if you have an object which actually can lead you to better concentration, naturally your mind will be there, and naturally the bad thoughts or bad impressions that are there will be loosened. And in the same way, it will be good in a future life that in progress, because it is good and it has connection with the higher life. And how those objects are selected, that is also in the scriptures, and also the teachers know that, and in that way they will say that you select this object and you think of this object. The object might have a name, as I told you, different aspects of God is there, different forms of gods are there, and in that way you select one which is really appealing to you and think of that. Not only think of that, you can read about that, and also you can go to the places associated with that, and also you can go to the places where his worship. In that, a vast amount of resources are there about that chosen ideal. So in that way, you can really impress in your mind, and when you think of that, it is definitely very this memory will be helpful in spiritual, in concentration. Concentration means that means you are spiritually growing. and at the same time it will be helpful in getting rid of the bad thoughts. So in that way, it is said that when you are in a bad situation or you want to forget something, just remember your chosen ideal or the name of the chosen ideal or anything associated with the chosen ideal. And to do that, actually, we have many things help that we do, especially this ritualistic worship, In ritualistic worship, you have, as you see in our place, that we have 5 images of Godhead. That means there are some of them actually, all of them are really or physically present at or at some moment, at some point of the on this earth. So we do not have to think of anything which is really completely imaginary. We do not know whether Lord Shiva lived and worked on the earth. There is no doubt. We might have doubt, but that is very common for the people of present day people. But if some persons we know historically they are present, many associations are there, we can really utilize them and we can strengthen our memory about them. And in that way, it will be helpful for forgetting bad things. And at the same time, it will be helpful in the progress in our spirituality, which actually we are trying to acquire. So this is actually psychologically confirmed in a sense. Definitely in spiritual life, you see the saints and sages, they have done this practice. And in that way, they have got rid of the bad things. I can give you some example from our stories. That means in Ramayana, Ramayana is written by Valmiki. And Valmiki was a highwayman, that means robber. That means he used to murder people. And his name was Ratnakar, and he used to rob people. And in that way, he used to earn money and he used to sustain himself and his family. Very bad job. That means it is a terrific job. Then once he met a sage. He said that, well, you are doing some heinous work and you will enter into the hell, you will go to the hell for and live there forever. So by saying this, he impressed upon that, yes, it is not really good what he is doing. And ultimately, he was convinced that, yes, what he has done is not really good. Of course, he knew that, but there is no other way of earning money, so he took to that profession. Then change came to him and he said that, well, sir, I have done so many bad things, so how shall I get rid of that? So Valmiki told that, well, you do one thing. I give you one mantra. Mantra means sacred word, and you repeat that name. And you know who actually is, what is meant by that word, Rama. Rama means he was a king, so naturally he was a well-known person. And he said that, well, you remember him and you start repeating his name. And as much as possible you do that, and gradually actually you will get rid of your bad thoughts, bad things that you have done. And he was really very much repentant what he has done, and he wanted to change himself. So, and robbers, they are very strong-minded people. That means killing a person means you have to have very strong mind. It does not, weak people actually cannot do those things. So once he took a resolve, actually, he sat down and started repeating the name. But as the story goes, unfortunately, he was so sinful that he could not utter the sacred name of Rama. So his teacher said, oh, you just reverse the name, Mora as it is called. That's river M-A-R-A instead of R-A-M-A. So that suited him. And in that way, when he started repeating automatically, the letters rolled into Ramo. And as the story goes, after a long time, it is said that he actually became a saint. That means he got rid of all those things, bad things, and and his teacher again came back and saw that he has completely changed. Then he said that now you are a good person, and now actually you do something good for the world. So he said that you recount all the history, all the activities of this great person Ramo, and in that way spend rest of your life. So he did that. So the story is like this. That means you can get rid of the bad thoughts with the help of this meditation and the repetition of name of spiritual object or person or personality or anything which is associated with spirituality. And that is two ways. That means you gain something, at the same time you lose something. Losing something means things which you want to lose, you lose. And you gain things which you want to gain. That will happen in one stroke. That is the great advantage of this type of spiritual practices. Otherwise, for individual practices, individually you have to get rid of the bad things, and individually you have to acquire good things. That will be time consuming also, and probably you have to apply what is called these techniques for time to time. But in one stroke, that means by one practice actually, you can get two things. That means killing two birds in one with one stroke. So this is the way we see that one can what is called acquire what is called assets and get rid of the liability, that which is actually in memory. Memory means bad thoughts will go away and actually good thoughts will come, and in that way life will be more bearable. And not only bearable, those who can do it seriously, life will be very worth living. That is the point. Life should be worth living. That means what we want to do, we shall be able to achieve that. That is the point. Okay, next Sunday, that is on June 6th, Swami Ishodhananda will speak on See God Everywhere. And we shall continue with our classes. Raja Yoga class I shall conduct on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Ishodhananda will continue his discussion group, Aphorism on Devotion, Narada Bhakti Sutra on Fridays at 6 p.m. And I shall continue discourse on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna on Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. So these are our weekly activities and the Sunday activity. And some of you are very eager to know when we shall open for physical presence. That means we shall have our what is called these talks and classes in our auditorium. We are waiting, and I have heard that from 15th actually all the restrictions, COVID restrictions, will be withdrawn. Then we shall be able to figure out in what way, whether we shall be able to, or rather it will be what is called, we shall have permission to have full gathering. Full gathering means without protocol, whether devotees can come and sit in the auditorium. We shall have to find out that. Then we shall start our services. And approximately, we are thinking that full services might start after our summer vacation. Summer vacation means in the month of September. But slowly, slowly, as the rules become what is called less stringent, we shall be able to slowly, slowly open our activities for devotees. So you will be able to come and the way we used to do our services earlier, we shall be able to do that. So wait and watch. That is the situation now. Om madhuvatarithayate madhuksharanti sindhavaha madhi irno santoshadhihi madhunakto mutosasi madhumat parthivagang rajaha madhudaurastuna pita madhumanna vanaspatihi madhumagangastu suryaha madhirgavo bhavantunah. Om Madhu, Madhu, Madhu. Sweet blood the winds and the oceans give forth blessedness. May the earths and plants bring us health and happiness. Sweet unto us with the nights and dawns. May every particle of Mother Earth be charged with blessings. May the heavens shower us with benediction. Sweet unto us with the noble forest trees. Sweet unto us with the shining sun. Sweet unto us with the all living creation. Om, sweetness, harmony, peace. Thank you very much for attending our Sunday service. If you have any question, I shall be happy to answer you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Ujjwal.
So, Swamiji,
Yeah,
so are we at the time that we're about to die, are we the sum total of our memories?
say it again.
Or well, like right before we die, are we the sum total of what we can remember? Is that are memories important like that?
Yes, good memories are definitely important, but memory, according to our Vedantic scripture, you will, what is called in the next life, you'll get what you are thinking at the last moment of your dying. So if you are
Okay.
thinking of God, then naturally you become one with God or be with God. That is the concept. And if you think of the mundane things, naturally you will get that mundane thing. So in that way, last thought at the time of departure of the soul from the body is very important according to Vedanta.
Okay, thank you, Swami.
All right, have a good day and have a good Memorial Day also.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Pranam, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Namaskar.